Hello, ladies of the 8th grade. This is day 2 of grade 8, lesson 9-3, pages 450. Please, before we begin discussing the example problems on the board, read through 446, 447, 448, and the top of 449. When you're done, come back to this video and let's take a look at some examples. Thank you. Okay, you're back. Thank you for reading that information. Let's start first with this angle over here. This angle has some letters on it, and then I have some equations written down here at the bottom, and we got to make sure we understand how this works in the world of angles. Notice that the S is always in the middle of these two names of the angle, because the S is the vertex. We would never want to call this angle SRW or angle SWR. We always have to identify it with the name of the angle such that the vertex is in the middle. Second thing, we could theoretically call this angle S, but we got to be careful about that, because if we were in a situation over here and somebody said to you, what's the measure of angle U? It'd be kind of hard to figure out which U they're talking about, because there's a number of different angles that they could be referring to. So normally we identify angles by 3 letters, but when an angle's all by itself, theoretically you could identify it just simply by its vertex, angle S. Now, this M means the measure of. So we read this as the measure of angle RSW equals such and such degrees. And this would be read as the measure of angle WSR equals such and such degrees. These are both identifying the same angle. In one case I started with the R, in the other case I started with the W. So how do we measure? We grab an object, as you know from past experience, called a protractor. We put it up here on the board, and we make sure that our vertex is in the middle bottom of the protractor, where this V lines up. Now in this particular case, we're running one of the rays out to the right-hand side, and we have a choice to make. Which one of these scales do we use? Do we use the bottom or the top scale? Because the bottom scale starts with a 0 in this case, we're going to use it so that we get an accurate measurement of the angle. Going up, I believe that this angle is approximately 43 degrees. Whether we call it RSW or WSR, 43 degrees. Remember, we have to start with the scale that has the 0. Now, over here, we're going to measure angle BUJ, and this time, we have to think a little bit differently about it. When I line up the vertex underneath the bottom center of the protractor, and when I look at this ray running out along the edge, this time I'm going to use the top scale, because the top scale has the 0, and I want to count out from 0 to the other ray. In this case, I think the angle's approximately 60 degrees. The next angle we're supposed to measure is the measure of angle GUS. So notice I have to angle the protractor this time, because I want to have one of the rays going along the bottom edge of the protractor. And since this is US here, I'm going to run that one along the edge. Which scale do I pick? The bottom or the top? I'm picking the bottom one because the bottom one has a 0 here. And when I count out, I think this angle is approximately 85 degrees. Our final angle, angle SUM. Angle SUM. Again, the ray is moving out to the right-hand side. That runs along the edge of this. I make sure the vertex is in the middle, and I think that's approximately a 35-degree angle. Over here, it wants me to draw a 145-degree angle. So how would I do that? First thing, I'm going to draw myself a ray of some sort. It's going to have a vertex dot and an angle. Then I'm going to decide which scale I need to use, the top or the bottom one. In this case, I'm going to use the top because I want to start from 0. I work my way around until I find 145. I put a mark there. I connect the mark to the vertex. Pen's starting to dry out a little bit. And that's my angle. Let's give it some letters. We'll call it P, Q, and R for the sake of argument. Okay, let's move over here for a few moments. A few more example problems. In your textbook, they talked about the fact that angles can have names depending upon how big the angles are. If I have an angle that's 180 degrees and it's exactly 180 degrees, we call that a straight angle. And this is an example of that, a straight angle. You might want to call that a line, but in this particular case, it can also be called a straight angle. If an angle is smaller than 180, but bigger than 90, we call that an obtuse angle. Here's an example of an obtuse angle. It's 115 degrees, obtuse. The next one, what if an angle is exactly 90 degrees? In other words, what if an angle looks like the corner of a piece of paper? And we call it a right angle. And finally, if an angle is smaller than 90 degrees, but bigger than 0, then we call it an acute angle. This particular angle fits with that definition. Finally, one other concept. Imagine we have an angle called angle XYZ, and we know it measures 40 degrees. But what if somebody says to you, hey, what's the measure of the outside angle of this particular situation? Well, really easy to figure out. We know that a circle is 360 degrees. A full circle is 360 degrees. So if we take that 360 and we subtract 40 from it, the inside angle, we will get the measure of the outside angle. So in this particular case, the outside angle is equivalent to 320 degrees. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please call me at 517-242-3138 or email me at pancocj@hotmail.com. Have a great day.